On Saturday, we announced Jon Jones, Stipe Miocic is officially happening. Is Tom Aspinall officially the backup for that fight?
Yes. Okay. And Tom Aspinall is next in line for anything that happens after this fight.
I, of course, have told the UFC if anybody gets injured or there's any other reason why nobody can make it to that fight, why one of them might pull out, I'm ready to go. If I need to, I'll fight both of them the same night, no problem. Give me my undisputed title.
All right, so you guys have probably heard Dana White said that Tom Aspinall is officially the backup for Jones versus Stipe. Does anybody believe that the guy who canceled an entire event because he would not fight Chael Sonnen, of all people, a fight that ended up being really easy for him, is going to take Tom Aspinall on short notice? And Stipe could have fought last year for the interim title. The backup for the situation with Jones was supposed to be Pavlovich. Stipe left.
Yeah,
he didn't take that fight. So why do we think that this is going to all of a sudden magically happen this time when it didn't happen last time? I mean, it was explicitly agreed to with Stipe, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, he was supposed to. Both of them guys were supposed to fight Pavo.
Yeah, it's fucking brutal. I mean, there's no guarantee you're going to get the title shot, right? If you're the backup, you're there in case of emergency. However, yeah, I don't know. Dana White has got such a fucking hard on over this Jon Jones Stipe fight. It was like, that's the two things he wanted this year. He wanted the Sphere and he wanted Jon Jones versus Stipe. And there's no shaking his preferential treatment of that fight, is there?
So do you think it's going to happen, though? Do you think...
Well, someone has to drop out first.
Yeah, do you think either one of them will actually accept it?
The point is, even if they drop out, they're highly unlikely. I mean, like, yeah, they didn't fight this guy. They've had all year to decide this fight. There's no way they'll be like, 3 months isn't enough time, but like 2 days is. Do you know what I mean? Granted, there is a small avenue of this we've not talked about where I believe one of the reasons Jon didn't take the Chael fight was because he and Greg Jackson believed there was some kind of dodgy dealings going on between Henderson and Chael, and that Chael had known Henderson was going to pull out and Chael had been preparing secretly. Don't know if that's true, but I'm pretty sure that was part of the narrative. But I still think the mentality was, no, I'm not taking a short notice fight at this point. And it feels like at this point in his career, it's going to be way more definitive, a win or a loss, because he doesn't have time to recover from whatever the outcome is. So he's going to probably take way less risks.
And also, if this is Jon's last fight, he wants the biggest chance to win, right? If he's been preparing for Stipe this whole time, and that's what his game plan's against, he's not going to take a last-minute change and have something completely unpredictable. He doesn't know what he's getting. So if he is going to walk off into the sunset, you want to do that in the most spectacular Stipe winning way, aren't you?
I mean, I don't want to say that there's literally no way that they'll take it, but I don't really buy it. I just don't believe it.
Yeah.
No. We've seen it in action with both of these guys. They want to ride off into the sunset. And to be fair, to give this fight a little bit of credit, when this was initially booked, this was the fight. It was after he won against Serial Gain, as Jones likes to call him. When that fight happened, it was like Miocic was the obvious one. Pavlovich was still coming up, and so was Aspinall, and they had a couple more wins to get. I mean, it wasn't Aspinall's fault, but you had the Curtis Blades one fight that didn't go his way. So he needed to prove a little bit more. And I think that was kind of a fair statement at the time. But the problem is when they did put on that interim belt, I mean, you're saying that that's the best guy and it's not Stipe. And that's the problem right now. So yeah, I think they want exactly what you said. They want that fight because that's the fight that's a legacy fight, quote unquote. It's the greatest heavyweight champion of all time versus potentially one of the GOAT contenders.
They might as well get another fighter in for Aspinall, because they've already shown that they will just replace this main event because neither guy will take a short notice fight. So they literally might as well just get someone in.
Pavlovich too.
Just like, hey, Aspinall, you're going to fight this guy because neither of these guys will fight you.
Yeah, no, we have the Volkov rematch. And that's the thing. It's like, even if this fight does go down, and Jones is talking about retirement now as well, isn't he? Saying this is most likely my last one. And then we don't know about Stipe. He's kind of said he's good to go. He's not thinking about retirement, but he probably should, depending on how this fight goes out. But like, even if this goes down and they both leave, the division, like we said before, is kind of in a sorry state because no one can build off anyone, can they? Yeah, I mean, Tom said he's not taking another fight until he gets it's for the undisputed belt.
Let me get this right. the two guys in the main event that will pull out and won't fight Tom on short notice, Tom will also not fight someone else unless it's a champion. So what is the actual point?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that the point is Dana is then trying to do by saying this is going to happen is he's trying to further market the fight. Like, tune in because your boy might actually be fighting on it. Yeah, tune in to Fight Week. Make sure you're watching the weigh-ins. You know,
Aspinall
make sure
will be in
you're
the
paying
background.
attention. He's just over there waving.
Yeah,
I'm the
you got
intricate.
that potential for the cage side and then the face-off kind of thing going on.
He's not going to give him a face-off, mate,
Well, no, it'll be if John wins, it'll be Jon Jones's moment, won't it? So
and he'll retire.
yeah,
The longer this fight has gone without it happening, the more I actually care less. Now I'm just like, just let him fight Stipe. It's a legends fight. They're both old men. They've got grey hair.
you've been beaten down.
I've
by
been
the-
beaten down to the point where I'm like, I don't really want to see him fight Aspinall. Just get it out of the way. It'll be
Yeah,
a great
I feel
nostalgic
similar.
fight for all the reasons you listed.
You don't really want to see him fight Aspinall.
The only problem I find
It's
is
hard for me to say I wouldn't enjoy that fight more. I think I would, but this is a legends fight that I don't think we're going to get both. I would ask for
Is
both.
this another one of your Khalil
I don't
arguments?
think we're going to get both. I don't know, dude. Like, I just don't think John is going to fight Tom. So let's have the legends fight. At the end of the day, I have nostalgia for both legends.
So there are two different ways, at least that goes through my head. Is one is, well, this is what's going to happen, so you might as well just like it's not going to
Suck it up.
change.
Exactly.
Yeah, you might as well just like, all right, we're going to watch anyway. It fucking blows. But what you're saying is, I don't want to see him fight Aspinall now.
I've asked for like a year and a half to see the fight. At this point, it's almost like weirdly, and I'm surprising myself saying this, it's almost weirdly like I'd rather see the legends now. Maybe over this last year, I've seen John just get a little bit older.
Alex Heel.
Feel
I
like
think you're
he's not-
surprising yourself that
I
you're
am.
saying it because you didn't think
saying
about it
this out
before you
loud.
said it. You're just like, oh,
I
I'm in
am.
mid-sentence. I guess I'll just commit.
I feel like I want to see the legends match up more. And I just want Tom Aspinall to just do his own thing.
That doesn't make any
As
sense.
Tom
So what
Aspinall,
you're
I'm
saying
deeply
is-
offended.
What you're saying is you've been campaigning for this fight for
Yes.
the last year and a half.
Yep.
And you're not settling for it. You actually prefer it now.
Now I'm just like disenfranchised with the whole idea of Tom ever fighting John.
That's not what you're saying. You're saying you are actually happier with Jones versus Stipe.
Because it's not going to happen. So maybe I've just
That
learned
doesn't
to,
mean-
I've learned to enjoy
You've
what
gone
I've
through the
been
5
given.
stages.
They've put
and
my
you're at the
dinner
other
down.
side.
They're like, this is your dinner. And I'm like, can I have that? No, you can't. And then a year and a half later, I guess I can't have that, can I? Well, I'll eat my dinner and shut up.
That's not. But you're saying you prefer
That's
the
what
dinner.
we've got to
You're
on
saying
this
you prefer
channel.
this dinner now. You still prefer that dinner.
I can't have it though. It's never. It might as well not exist. You might as well never even showed it to me. You know.
But that doesn't mean you don't prefer that.
I won't know because I'll never get to try it, Jason. I'll never get to taste it. Well, ultimately, like
There's no logic in this place.
There's going to be a very weird analogy if we continue down the dinner plate analogy. So, like, if this dinner is a dinner from my childhood that smells good and reminds me of history, because that's
Yeah.
what Jones Stipe is, and it's also like if I don't eat that dinner, I might never get to eat it. Do you know what I mean? So at the end of the day, then it's now become so nostalgic that I want for the nostalgia to see the two legends fight.
I think that's right. You can be excited about this fight. I mean, I think there's a point where we all have to kind of come to terms with Dana is not shifting from this narrative. He wants to do this fight because of the spectacle, because of the history, and then he can put a lovely trailer like he did on Contender Series and say, he's the best, he's the GOAT. We had the greatest athlete of all time
It's
in our
just like-
promotion. But
Don't believe it.
even if that fight goes ahead, which it is going to, and hopefully everyone makes weight and is not injured, does it not just put the biggest flat tire on the division ever? Because if Jones beats Stipe should never get another title shot, ever. John retires because that's what he said he wanted to do, and he actually retires.
Yeah.
Tom has fought everyone. And he's the interim with no one to fight to make that.
Oh yeah, but they'll come along.
Well, isn't the argument that he's also fought no one?
Yeah,
But there
Because
is no
they
one.
won't-
in-
they exactly.
there is
Yeah.
no one.
but
That's the
he's
problem.
fought everyone, and they're all
It's
nobody.
all in Garner's
Everyone
fault,
that's still there. Lewis gets another title shot, dude. That's
Curtis Blades. God.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
have.
Curtis Blades
we'll have-
4. Let's get a third and fourth. Let's
Yeah.
just book them back to back.
We'll have Augusto
No matter the
Sakai
result.
come back.
I mean, like, look, if we do ever get John and Aspinall, we will at least get to see a passing of the torch in some regards, which is incredibly important. And we haven't had that at heavyweight, and that's why we're fucked right now.
Do
know
you
what I mean?
not
Like,
think that Jones is going to be selfish enough to not want to be that guy who passes the torch, though?
I don't think. I think the Jones's ego is the fact of why he is so good. Is because he believes he's the greatest thing to ever walk the earth. And I think that's what has excelled him in his martial arts career. The fact that he can show up, not train for a Gus fight, and somehow still win.
Sounds like the greatest fighter.
Is that
ever.
will? Is that will to not lose? And I don't think he would ever hand that over in a like, you know what, you're the guy now. I was like, no, he wants to go out the best.
He wants to look and say, I beat the greatest heavyweight of all time. Plus, I was arguably the greatest before that. Of course, he thinks he is. So that's what I think he wants. I think he wants to do what GSP did. And let's be real, I don't even think this should be a controversial statement. GSP has basically said as much. He said the stock market, the whole thing about Bisping was to go there and go after an opponent that was a little bit easier, snatch that belt. He didn't hang around for Yoel. He didn't hang around for Whitaker. He didn't hang around for Rockhold. That's what I think Jon Jones is trying to do as well, because he saw what happened with Habib where he went out on top and didn't lose. So he definitely wants that. And he saw B, what happened with GSP and how he just retired
are you
after
saying,
getting an easy win.
inferring from that piece there, are you saying that Jones waited out Ngannou, got an easy fight with Gane, and now he's all to work his way to fight the greatest heavyweight we've had in the UFC?
I don't know for sure that he didn't want to fight Ngannou, because I do think he had a legitimate gripe about, I deserve Wilder money. I'm like at least the second biggest star in the sport at the time, and has been for a very long time. I think he had a legitimate gripe there, and there might have actually been a real pay issue there that either got solved or it didn't, whatever. I know Dana was looking to save the heavyweight division after Ngannou left. So that could be part of it. He could have actually gotten more money.
The thing is, I find with that is I think Jones has been very smart, and obviously he's got a good reputation with Dana and the UFC, so he can pull more levers than most people. But what is the difference between Ngannou and Aspinall? Well, Ngannou was the champion at the time, of course.
And the lineal champion.
The actual lineal heavyweight champion, which if he would have gone up and fought the current champion, that would have been perfect, not someone who is stepping in. But there's no difference. I think there was some potential waiting around for 3 years to fight this guy, not getting enough money, which, I mean, did he get enough money for Gane, or did he take Gane because it was an easier fight with still good money? Let's be fucking real. He took that fight because there was holes where we know Jones can exploit them. And, I mean, I think he did a lot better than a lot of us thought. Choking a guy out in a couple minutes is still amazing. It seemed like he had a route planned this whole time. And he's not an idiot. He does stupid things, but he's not like a dumb guy.
Do you think after those close fights against Santos and Reyes that Jones was like, oh shit, like I am not light years ahead of these guys like I thought I was, and now it's time to be more sensible about the fights that I take and how much I actually do fight as well, and whether that goes into that decision making of Gane versus Ngannou or Stipe versus Aspinall? Do you think at any point he's gone like, man, those fights were so close, I nearly lost that quote unquote undefeated streak, and I want to finish up on top, basically with no losses apart from obviously Matt Hamill?
Yeah, like I think in the Reyes fight he probably did feel really old and realize like, oh shit, like I'm starting to kind of slow down. I'm not able to see these punches coming as much as I could. This should have been an easy fight. But we've also known Jones to be the type of fighter that kind of fights to the level of who his opponent is as well. You think about it. All the worst matchups on paper for him have been his best. But what happens when he starts fighting like Reyes? I was there for that event. I covered that event. And I remember every single time we would make a post about Reyes, it's like, he's a scrub. He just knocked out Chris Weidman, which was exactly what we thought it was, an opportunity to get a title shot off of beating a legend that had no business in that discussion. So you had that going on. And then you had it with Anthony Smith, who was, the Strikeforce guy who'd had ups and downs in a weak division, was able to get 3 wins together and was able to get a title shot. Same thing with Thiago Santos. He struggled in almost all, literally all 3 of those fights. He almost lost to Anthony Smith with that illegal knee, and it was an unimpressive showing. Thiago Santos won on some of the judges' scorecards, and Reyes, everybody thinks Reyes won. And then what happens when he does fight somebody that is actually seen to be a really tough test for him? It destroys Gane. And so there is an element to that with a Stipe fight. Who knows? He might fight to the level of Stipe, or it's a difficult thing, because at what point do you argue they're just that good versus Jones just kind of not being on his game or not caring. And we know for the first Gus fight, that was absolutely the case, partying and all that stuff. But here's the other way of looking at it as well, is Jones might murk Aspinall. And then
I'm happy to see that as well.
And then at least what we see is like, okay, this division does just suck balls.
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
Yeah, I mean-
wait, the thing is, like, Tom Aspinall could legitimately be one of the best heavyweights ever in one of the worst eras possible.
Yeah.
And
That's true.
one of those things that contextualizes that, well, if he does beat Jones and if he also got Stipe too, then you're like, okay, yeah, he might legitimately be that guy. But if he just loses, then
And I will also say, in a more cynical vein as well, if Tom were to fight Jones and comes up and does what he does to everyone, we'd be like, well, Jones was old. Jones was a heavyweight
Yeah,
for
we
the second
probably will
time.
say that,
Didn't
yeah.
have, didn't quite have his foot a heavyweight,
Yeah.
was never meant to be a heavyweight. And there would be all these questions. So it's kind of like a really rocky place for heavyweight.
it'd be a great middle ground though as well though, because then what you'd at least be able to say is he beat somebody
Yeah.
that nobody else beat, even if he was older. It's better than beating Blades a third time.
Yeah.
I think Dana is trying to salvage Jones for one more fight by hanging the greatest, of all time in front of him and publicly saying it and publicly making that case. So he has an emphatic win. He gets to say, see, I told you so. And we'll still be like eye rolling. But I think that's essentially what the appeal is here for Jon. And I do think he wants to retire, which is why I don't think he wants to take this fight. He's never been that guy to take a short notice replacement in the past. And I don't think it's going to happen now. Stipe had the opportunity last year to fight for the interim title, which would have added more stakes to this. Did not do it. I don't think he's taking this fight either. This is a marketing tool, purely plain and simple for Dana White to say, hey guys, watch this fight week, and then maybe you'll be reeled in enough to still buy the pay-per-view, even without your guy being on it. That's what I think.
it's-
So.
Yeah, he can say, hey, I put Tom Aspinall in there. He was the backup for that fight. He was the backup.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
to the
I mean,
answer to any argument you make.
it's the easiest payday Tom's probably had in a long time. Just to show up and get
Sure.
half your paycheck
Yeah.
to weigh in, when you can probably just make weight quite
Although
easily.
I hope it all devolves into chaos and who the fuck knows what's going to happen, but it could be fun. Thank you guys for listening to our discussion and podcast today. Nice communication, nice talking. It was, you're laughing. If you do want to hear the unedited version of these podcasts where we don't cut out all the bits with the swearing and the sexism, you can
Can't
catch it
stop me.
on the MMA On Point members section of the channel here. It's $2.99. If you click the button down below, you can find out more information and join us there. You also get access to the writers' meeting, have your input on what we're doing, because we don't know what the hell's going on. 10 out of 10.
Bloody women.
Yeah. Bloody women. Jesus. Get them out of here. Turn it off.
The sexism, there it is.